What's going down, YouTube world? Once again, we at it with another cool reaction video. I am him, the King Cool. Good looking on tuning in with me today. Look, man, we gonna get into it. So let's rap about this. Now, I've heard of this religion called Zoroastrianism in a book. I guess it's a religion that the ancient Persians believed in. You know, I'm on this thing trying to figure out, I don't know what the right religion is. So, you know, let's go do a little history lesson and find out what it is together. So, I ain't going to hold y'all. Let's get into this video. Here we go.
Heard of it, but you've likely been influenced by it. This little-known religion has inspired Voltaire, Nietzsche, and Freddie Mercury. George R.R. Martin based a Game of Thrones character on it.
Now, Voltaire and Nietzsche were, I guess, I don't know if they were philosophers or some type of writers. And Voltaire wrote a bunch of quotes about certain shit. I don't know. I gotta read up more on Voltaire, though. I do have to get some of his books.
But what made it such an influential faith, and how did it shape the world? Zoroastrianism was founded by the prophet Zarathustra, or Zoroaster, as he's known in the West, around the 6th century BCE in ancient Persia, present-day Iran. The exact dates are still a matter of debate, and it's possible that the religion goes even further back. We also don't know much about the details of Zoroaster's life or where he lived. Most of the little that we do know comes from the Avesta, a collection of Zoroastrian religious scriptures.
So this is a funny thing about religion to me. It's like these dudes just all of a sudden come up with this frame of thinking that somehow they say the deity bestowed upon them, and it's like a thought, and they start believing in, you know, deities, and they start preaching and telling the words that these deities told them. And so, you know, that's the funny thing about religion. I find like the deities only talk to certain people, and then they just start these religions and everybody follows it. So, but yeah, this Zarathustra dude or Zoroaster,
and his name Zarathustra, which translates to
I don't know,
of old or gray camels, reflects this lifestyle. It seems that Zoroaster was a priest of the ancient Iranian religion, but when he was in his 30s,
so what was the ancient
visions from Ahura Mazda, the supreme god. Rather than
see, that's one thing. They don't even say what he was a priest of. He was just the priest of the ancient religion in his era, the Persian religion, before he came up with this Zoroastrianism. But what was he a priest of? What were they believing? Now, I know the ancient Sumerians believed, they wrote clay tablets and they believed in multiple gods, but the Sumerians existed, I believe, centuries before the Persian Empire even began. So, you know, what was the Persian? See, we're going to have to do a video on that. But let's keep it going.
In his 30s, he began to have visions from Ahura Mazda, the supreme god.
Ahura Mazda.
Rather than try to overthrow the existing polytheistic religion, Zoroaster tried to reform it on the basis of existing social and economic values. When he tried to spread his new ideas, he faced opposition and hostility from those who defended the old religious practices and societal norms.
So there was a polytheistic religion, meaning they believed in multiple deities. But then he got this vision from Ahura Mazda and then tried to reform the religion.
Little is known about Zoroaster's death. According to some later Zoroastrian traditions, Zoroaster was killed in his late 70s by a foreign invader in a temple. Under the Achaemenid Empire, particularly King
they killed the old dude.
Zoroastrianism became the state religion and flourished. This continued under subsequent Persian empires, including the Parthian and Sasanian empires, spreading its influence throughout the region. Regardless of how little we know about Zoroaster, what we do know is that he was a visionary who changed his world. His ideas,
I mean, yeah, he came up with a religion that everybody followed
from the polytheistic religions that were prevalent at the time. What's more, Zoroastrianism also laid the foundation for many concepts that would become central to the Abrahamic religions, namely Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. We'll talk about that in detail further on. Zoroaster's teachings, which were revealed to him in a series of visions from Ahura Mazda, the supreme god of the religion, can be found in the Avesta, the primary collection of sacred texts of
I'm
Zoroastrianism,
gonna have to read that.
written in an
Get
old
that
form
book.
of the Persian language known as Avesta.
Sanskrit?
The Avesta isn't a single book, but a compilation of various texts that were written over many centuries. This includes the Gathas, which are 17 hymns believed to be composed by Zoroaster himself. The Gathas are at the core of the Zoroastrian faith. So, what exactly did Zoroaster preach?
Right.
Zoroastrianism is all about the worship of one god, Ahura Mazda, who represents wisdom. The religion also introduced the concepts of dualism, depicting the eternal battle between the forces of good and evil. Good is represented by the spirit Serpenta Manu, and evil is symbolized by Angra Mainyu, both of which are...
So this deity, Ahura Mazda, I couldn't even hit that. I don't even know why I lit that shit, but the deity Ahura Mazda is a supreme deity of the Zoroastrianism, but they have these other spirit beings underneath him with forces of good and evil. This whatever the first one's name is, Singra Manu and Angra Manu, they good and evil. Now, they not deities, but they're just forces that are underneath Ahura Mazda. So that's what I don't understand. Like, this dude, Zoroaster, just had a dream one day, and then all of a sudden, bam, this is, religion is crazy. Like, and they used to do a gang of drugs back in ancient times. So, was he high on some PCP, opium, cannabis combination? I don't know.
Under Ahura Mazda. This dualistic worldview is the basis for the fundamental ethical principle of
And that's the same in Christianity, a dualistic view.
Good and evil. Those who practice the faith are encouraged to be active participants in this battle, choosing the path of righteousness over the path of falsehood.
Sound like
This
Christianity?
ability to choose is one of the unique aspects of Zoroastrianism. It emphasizes free will. Followers are taught that they have the power and responsibility to choose between good and evil in their thinking, speaking, and actions. A trio of principles often summarize
just like
thoughts, good words, and
Christianity and Islam, if you ask me. Good thoughts, good words, good deeds. That's Islamic principle.
To Zoroastrian eschatology, which was unique for its time. Eschatology is defined as the part of theology concerned with death, judgment, and the final destiny of the soul and of humankind. In Zoroastrianism, this includes beliefs in a future state, a final judgment, and the eventual triumph of good over evil.
Sounds just like Christianity.
An individual's soul is judged based on their life deeds, with the virtuous granted a place in heaven, and the wicked condemned to hell. While it's true that there have always been variations of heaven and hell even before Zoroastrianism, these were vague and not emphasized as places of
reward. Now you see, these are concepts of heaven and hell existed before Zoroastrianism, right? And Zoroastrianism sounds just like, for Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, if I'm not mistaken. They all have these principles. They all have this duality, whatever you want to call it. And they all have a supreme deity. Now, they all seem to be copies of copies. You feel me? And then on top of that, if they was already practicing a religion that had to do with heaven and hell or good and evil and good, you know what I'm saying? That sort of sentiment, then is Zoroastrianism just a copy of that? And then is with the previous religion? Because if y'all seen from one of my other videos, the ancients believed in these multiple deities. And it sounded like before Zoroastrianism came with the concept of monotheism, the people that he lived around believed in this polytheistic world, or this polytheistic beings as deities. So I don't get it. That's why I'm not religious.
Conduct. An important point to note is that Zoroastrians are often called fire worshippers. But this is a misunderstanding of their religious practices. In Zoroastrianism, fire isn't worshipped as a god, but rather revered as a physical representation or symbol of the divine, specifically of the wisdom of Ahura Mazda. Fire serves as a medium through which spiritual insight and wisdom are gained. In Zoroastrian fire temples, a sacred fire is kept continuously burning by the priests, representing the eternal presence of Ahura Mazda, righteousness, and truth. The fire is also a symbol of cosmic order and the light of wisdom that drives away the darkness of chaos and ignorance.
Okay.
It's sacred because of its purifying qualities, burning away evil and destruction. This reverence for purity
But it
extends
also
to
burns the good and
leading to a
beautiful
strong
too.
tradition of
So,
environmental stewardship.
and
As some have
innocent.
said, Zoroastrianism is a very ecologically aware religion, which has led to some commentators calling it the first green movement. But what's most interesting is Zoroastrianism's impact on the development of the three Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. The
Well, yeah,
concepts
because
of
they all saying
monotheism,
not the same
heaven and
thing.
hell, a Messiah, final judgment, and resurrection, all central to Judaism, Christianity,
Now,
and
they
Islam.
didn't say whether Zoroastrianism had a Messiah. I didn't hear that.
But how did Judaism become influenced by Zoroastrianism? Scholars believe that this occurred during the Babylonian exile in the 6th century BCE. It was Cyrus the Great, a Zoroastrian, who liberated the Jewish people from Babylon and allowed them to return to their homeland. He even supported them in rebuilding their temple. This interaction between Zoroastrians and Jews likely led to an exchange and incorporation of theological ideas. And as the Jewish religion was remade after the catastrophe of the exile, these Zoroastrian teachings began to filter into the Jewish religious culture. This, in turn, influenced Christianity and Islam. But it's also likely that as Islam expanded into Persia, there was considerable interaction between Muslims and Zoroastrians. So, how exactly did Zoroastrianism impact the Abrahamic religions?
Because they all
Let's take a look
cousins.
at several significant
They all sound like they
ideas that may
cousins.
have
They come from the same idea. So, I mean,
monotheism. While Judaism was already trending towards monotheism, strict
and that's what's
monotheistic
funny about these religions. Like when you think about it, they all have hatred towards one another. I wouldn't say hatred, but
this is further reflected
maybe it
in
is hatred because
Christianity
Muslims and Christians been killing each other
Angels and demons.
since the
Zoroastrian cosmology includes
Crusades.
various spiritual beings,
And
such
we
as
talking
angels
about
and demons.
what,
These concepts
11th
likely
century?
influenced the development of angelic and demonic beings in the Abrahamic faiths. The Jewish and Christian idea of a personal guardian angel may also have been inspired by the Zoroastrian figure of the Fravashi, the divine guardian spirit of each individual human being. Dualism.
So there's another guardian,
Zoroastrianism presents
there's
a
another
dualist
being
universe,
that's a
constantly
spirit
torn
deity.
between good and evil.
Or,
This cosmic
so how is it
struggle
monotheism
influenced
if you
the
have
concept of
these
good and evil
forces?
in Abrahamic religions, particularly the dichotomy between God and Satan. Eschatology. Zoroastrian beliefs in a savior, final judgment, and an end-time renovation of the world have parallels in the messianic apocalyptic and resurrection themes found in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Heaven and hell. Zoroastrianism has clearly defined notions of heaven and hell based on moral and ethical actions in one's life. Similar concepts of an afterlife, including divine judgment, are central in the Abrahamic faiths. Before the exile and Persian contact, Jews believed that souls of the dead went to a boring Hades-like place called Sheol. However, there's a marked change after the exile, where the idea of a moralized afterlife, with heavenly rewards for the good and hellish punishment for the evil, begin to appear in Judaism. Another interesting note is that one of the words for heaven in the Bible is paradise. It comes from the ancient Iranian words paridesa, meaning enclosed garden. It's one of the very few definite Persian loanwords in the Bible. Satan. The Zoroastrian figure of Angra Mainyu, the destructive spirit, is often seen as a precursor to the figure of Satan.
So the Sangra Manu, is that supposed to be Jesus?
The similarities between Zoroastrianism and the Abrahamic religions are just too glaring to ignore. Yet many believers of the Abrahamic religions may not readily acknowledge such influences. So, Zoroastrianism doesn't often get the credit that it deserves. The arrival of Islam in Persia in the 7th century marked the decline of Zoroastrianism as a major religion. Many Zoroastrians fled to India to escape religious persecution, becoming known as Parsees. The small community of Zoroastrians.
So I wonder if Zoroastrians affected any Indian religions and what religions are based off of that, or cousins of that in India,
only
in
followed by
Asia.
about 100,000 people globally, and the numbers continue to decline. Yet the concepts it introduced, revolutionary during their inception, continue to form the bedrock of many belief systems in societies today. If you enjoyed this video,
Well, yeah. And we're going to end the video right there, man. But let's wrap a few ticks about that, or about this video. I mean, see, that's what doesn't make any sense about any of these religions, from Zoroastrianism, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, is that they all seem to copy, like I was saying earlier, they all seem to copy each other, right? Now, if Abraham was the father of Judaism, and I had to do some research to see if Abraham is the father of Judaism and when Judaism actually began. Because if Judaism began before they were in Babylon, then that means that whatever religion that Abraham grew up in, it sounds like it could have been similar. Like, did Abraham was he the father of Judaism before Zoroastrianism began? Or did Abraham become the father of Judaism after Zoroastrianism was already established religion? Because if that was the case, then it just seems like Abraham just copied what Zoroastrianism was, and then they switched it up. And then when you have, I mean, it don't even sound like they switched it up too much either, because they all have the same similar concepts: heaven and hell, good and evil, the supreme deity, the evil spirit. You know what I'm saying? It's a trio. It's the supreme being, and then the duality forces, a trio like Christianity has. You feel me? And so if Abraham grew up under that religious practice, then he just basically copied what they was talking about. And then Christians introduced Jesus, and then that's what the Christian belief is, mixed with Judaism, because their faith starts with Judaism. That's the Old Testament. The New Testament is just talking about Jesus Christ and his works. You feel me? And then Islam comes, and it's taken from what Christianity is saying and then creating its own religion, and they all based on these individuals hearing, I don't know, the word from these supreme beings that only they hear. Because even when you think of Islam, before Islam began, the Kaaba in Mecca, where the Muslims, where they march around and they do their Hajj, that already existed before Islam existed. And they had followers of the faith that was prior to Islam, and they used to do the same thing at the Kaaba before Islam even existed. So I don't get it. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments, man. Again, I'm not a religious person. I'm just trying to figure out what the truth is, and, you know, doing some history lessons with y'all, man. But I thank y'all for tuning in again with me. Again, I'm him, the King Cool. Y'all be cool. Take it easy. Peace.